Welcome to the Kings of Khaos podcast at the famous Frog and Firkin pub in Toronto. Hi, Al.
Hey, Adam, what's going on?
Not much. This seems like fun. How was dinner?
Dinner was awesome. Again, I want to thank our friends at the Frog of Firkin pub at Yonge and Sheppard for hosting us tonight. We're doing actually a live audience podcast taping, which is pretty wild. We have an amazing turnout here tonight. It's totally different for us. So
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. We really appreciate everyone for coming. So thank you. Thank you.
So how do you feel being live?
How do I feel being live? I mean, well, my heart's beating all the time. It makes me live. But
I hope your heart's
it
beating
is.
all
It
the
is.
time.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, normally in front of the camera, I'm never nervous. It's a little bit different having a live audience right now.
Would you like a moment to go to the bathroom?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Would you? No? Okay. Okay.
So I think we picked an interesting topic for this week.
Yep.
Al, I think you should lead in on this one.
Thanks. Thought you were doing the leading. Okay.
No, that was the lead. But
I appreciate it.
Well, hell, I'll talk about it. This week's topic is fear of commitment.
Yeah. So
From a woman's point of view or a man's?
both. So let me explain. Okay, let me explain. So I was talking to my guru a couple weeks ago, and I was talking about avoidance because everyone who's watched the podcast, we've talked about I at least used to be avoidant in terms of attachment theory, working towards secure. But with that, I was talking about do avoidants tend to have commitment issues, okay? And with that, the whole thing came around, is it really avoidant? Is it the commitment issues? Does that tie in together? And my guru actually was like, I want you to watch some things because it tends to be an overrated generalization that men have commitment issues or are commitment phobic. And that's kind of where you and I talked, and that's where this idea came from.
So here's a question for you, though.
Yeah.
Can you actually have a fear of commitment because you commit to things every day?
And that's what we talk about. So I want to go back to generalizations for a second. There's all kinds of generalizations out there in the world of dating today, right? All men are this, all women are this. And there's all this bullshit that goes on with all these generalizations. And that creates a lot of issues with dating, okay? So part of what came up is the whole idea of commitment phobe, okay? And having commitment issues. But you talk about commitment issues, and then people have even kind of labeled me with that. I have commitment issues.
You're a commitment phobe?
I'm a commitment phobe, right? Okay, so you talk about commitment. I was in my career for an incredibly long time.
So you committed to that?
Committed to working my way up until I had enough of it. Okay?
Committed to your hair, for sure.
I definitely committed to hair. You and I talked. We met. We're coming up on a year.
Yeah.
We talked about then.
We're committed?
You need to be committed.
You can hold it now.
But we talked about in terms of that, we want to get a podcast going. Within a few months, we had the podcast.
You committed to that very quickly,
right?
Yes.
Exactly. Part of my 2024 was, okay, you know what? I was like, I'm going to be represented by a gallery. Got the gallery representation.
Okay.
Part of my year was, you know what? I'm going to go out and branch out on my own. Was it 3 months ago? Did my own solo show, which was highly successful.
Okay.
As you mentioned in other previous episodes, I'm a workoutaholic. That takes commitment.
That takes a lot of commitment.
Right?
Yeah.
So this generalization that men have commitment issues is not the case. Men are committed in many cases, okay? Now, as it pertains to relationships, there are some men who have commitment issues, but in not all cases, just because a guy does not want a relationship doesn't mean he has a commitment issue.
That's the stance we're taking.
That's the stance we're taking. I know you're going to challenge me on it, but that's the stance we're taking.
So that's the stance you're taking.
That's the stance I'm taking.
No, I'll back you up on this. Okay. So let's get into this.
Yeah.
So do really men have commitment issues, or is that a fallacy? That's the question.
I would argue it's a fallacy. Okay, it's a generalization. So let's put it this way. We talk about commitment and the idea of commitment and where that comes from. I would argue it's twofold, okay? One is you look at historical context, right? You go back 50, 60 years ago, the old standard of relationships, husband, wife, 2.5 kids, white picket fence, so on and so forth. Everyone stays together. Older school values. Times are changing. Okay. And even there, not every woman wants a commitment. Okay. A commitment in the sense, at least in terms of marriage. Okay. Because often it comes up the idea, it seems to be associated with marriage. We've had conversations with people, and you know what I'm talking about, where it's, well, if the guy doesn't want to get married, he's not into me, he should be sacrificing, he should be this. If I want marriage, doesn't matter what he wants. That doesn't mean the guy has a commitment issue. It just might mean he doesn't want to be married. So I think we have to first of all define what commitment means,
Okay.
okay, and then explore that further.
Can I read your speech though? The ones that
Yeah, it's actually it's not my speech, but yeah, go for it.
Whose speech was it?
It was it was from, I don't know, you've got the references from one of the psychology articles.
This is almost like one of its own writers. This is the speech. A generalized perception that many men do not want to or are not able to commit. Many men are actually very good with commitment. The issue is not so much commitment, but rather how commitment is defined. Men understand to be successful, they need partners, not adversaries in their life. To understand why men don't commit, we need to look at reasons why men don't wish to pursue lasting relationships with specific people, and in turn distinguish between a fear of commitment versus a realization that some things aren't meant to last or should never begin in the first place. I wrote that last line.
Oh, very nice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So that is what we are arguing today.
That is.
And I don't know, how do you want to start with that? There seems to be a spectrum that we're supposed to look at here of non-commitment.
Right. So going back, right, you have the non-committal, where the serial dater.
Yeah.
Or the guy who's just looking for hookup after hookup after hookup. Okay? That's at one end of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have, as things go along, marriage, lifelong relationship.
Okay.
And if that lasts, that's great. I'm fully in support of that. That's awesome.
Okay.
Then you have everything in between. So commitment can be two people, common law, without the official license, right? Commitment can be two people, they spend maybe weekends together. During the week, they're on their own, but they're in committed monogamous relationship. Okay. Some people, in terms of commitment, you go out once or twice and they want it to be, you're not seeing anyone else. They want an exclusivity after one or two dates, when really that's the time to be getting to know people. So there's a whole spectrum.
Flag.
It's a huge red flag.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But that's why I say it's a whole spectrum for me at where it is.
Okay. So people go from non-commitment to marriage with children, everything in between, which would be serial daters, playing the field, people who test in the waters. There are certain types of people that we researched that said will kind of have a paralysis when it comes to avoidance dating. And some just think that the grass is greener on the other side.
Yeah.
Okay. But pretty much, even most of these people that have commitment issues, they all have different reasons.
Yeah, and
we agree on that.
We agree on that, and I think we could probably even delve into that a little bit if you wanted to, in terms of some of those different categories of the non-committal types.
I think we're going to get into that as we go through. Okay, so let's talk about certain of the male stereotypes when it comes to non-commitment. Okay, avoidant, yes.
Yes.
Okay, narcissist.
Yeah, but that one I would argue can go either way, male or female. But yeah.
Okay, some ladies may know some of these. The failure to launch types. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, living in your mom's basement. Nothing wrong with that. You live alone, right?
Yeah, I live for a long time.
And the last one would be men with low self-esteem. Okay, that would be your anxious types, the type that need a lot of validation.
Yeah.
Okay, so those would be the stereotypes in this case.
Okay.
So we're saying non-committal people would have fears. You put me onto something.
Okay.
Teal Swan.
Yep.
There's a video you made me watch. Okay. So we're going to go through a lot of different types of fears, but what do these fears boil down to? What specific type of fear do you know? You made me watch the video.
I know. I don't. You know what? I did all the research. I don't remember now. I sent you that. Listen, that's your job. You're like the guy who loves the list and research. I just wing it. So you tell me.
The thing I want people to remember is all these fears boil down to one thing.
Okay.
Fear of losing something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So even if you look at fear of failure, fear of success, they both are a fear of what? Losing something.
Losing something.
Okay. Choice, autonomy, whatever.
But hang on. But when you talk about that fear, and going back to what Teal Swan talks about, is it the fear of losing something, right?
Okay.
Or she talks about with commitment, is it the opposite of fear is, do you remember that?
No, what is the opposite?
The opposite of fear is love.
Ooh.
Okay. And so, which people don't always make that connection, right? Because we think of emotion, but the opposite of fear is love.
Okay.
And so, is it that you fear commitment, or do you love your freedom more?
Well, there's a good question for you.
Way to
do you love your
things.
freedom more?
Me personally?
Yes.
It depends on the situation.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, let's stop for a moment though.
Okay.
Okay. So we've talked about this before.
Yep.
Okay. And I know you're worried that I'm going to throw you
I
under the
know
bus
you're going to
here.
throw
And
me
this
under
is
the
not
bus.
me throwing you under the bus.
Okay,
Okay.
bring it on.
So if we're talking about attachment
Yeah.
issues, okay, you are on the spectrum. You would be more on the avoidance spectrum
On the avoidant.
or fearful avoidant, probably. Not dismissive.
Depends on the situation. I'd say more avoidant, working towards secure. In the odd situation, yeah, fearful avoidant.
Okay.
Yep.
So I would be more on the anxious side.
Yep.
Okay. You have not been married.
Not that I recall.
I've been married.
Yep.
What country was that?
Vegas, whatever. Who knows what
all right.
happened in Vegas?
Sure, someone would have shown up with a baby, but at this point,
Protection. You never heard of a condom? Anyhow, go on.
all right. So if you're on the avoidance spectrum, I'm on the anxious spectrum.
Yeah.
I've been married. You have been married. It's
Yeah.
different choices.
Yeah.
It's not. No one's getting thrown under the bus.
No, and it's not right or wrong. It's not one's better than the other. It comes down to choice.
Yeah, but avoidance would be known more for being non-committal.
Absolutely.
Right. Whereas an anxious person would be more someone apt to commit.
Almost needs that commitment
based on a fear too.
Absolutely.
Right. So you, in this case, people would view you more as the non-committal type.
Yep.
Whereas in my case, I'd probably be the serial monogamist. Okay.
Yep.
I'm not saying that's worked out, but I'm just saying I would have been the serial monogamist. Okay. So we're looking at it from two different angles. So if we were looking at it, the focus would be more on you. But in many cases too, you could also say that I was non-committal in many ways.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So, because I have a lot of these fears that we're about to go through.
Okay.
Okay. So, what's the first one? Do you want to take a guess?
No. You can just tell me.
Have you ever had a fear of missing out? If you were dating someone,
no,
let's say,
more so.
FOMO?
More so when I was younger.
Okay.
And I think it's twofold. A, when you're younger, you don't maybe have that life experience and there's that curiosity and that wondering.
Okay.
I think the other thing, and we see this in today, and I'm not knocking it, we've talked about this, but with dating apps as well, it's like window shopping, right? And it's what's the next best thing. So you go here, this profile looks good, but oh, this one's a little bit better, and this one's not quite as good, and this one's even better. And I think part of the thing with dating apps, and we talked about this, the purpose of dating apps, not knocking them, don't come after us dating apps, but they want you to stay on there. That's part of the business.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Absolutely. And we've also talked about how with dating apps, it's that rush, right? Every time you have someone who connects with you, who matches, who messages you, you get that dopamine rush. It builds your confidence. You feel good.
Machine.
Absolutely.
I love it. Yeah.
And whether you've had a lot of dating experience or if you've had limited dating experience, that sense of all these people being interested makes you feel really great. All of a sudden, it's like, this is a great, right? This is an amazing feeling. So let's keep at this.
Okay.
And it's like, so here's the next one. Here's the next one. Here's the next one. And you get to the point where it's like, she seems really good, or it could be the opposite, but we're taking it from our point of view. She seems really great, but what if? It's that what if. And that's where that fear of missing out comes into play in a lot of cases.
Okay, let me flip that around on you though. Have you ever been with someone where you'd fear missing out with that specific person? Where you'd want to be with that person more than anybody else because you wouldn't want someone else to have the opportunity that you would then miss out on.
Yes.
Okay.
Been there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it does work both ways.
It does work both ways. Absolutely.
Okay. So that's the first one. A lot of men will have non-committal men will have a fear of missing out.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're also saying choosing the wrong woman, which would be the next one on the list.
Yep.
Okay. So that falls in there too.
Yep.
But what would that boil down to? It's not just.
I'm interrupting you, Sean.
Thank you.
You need to get louder.
Okay, we are getting louder.
Okay. Even more, eh? Okay, I can scream.
I don't know if I can be that loud.
Oh, you can be loud.
Okay. So you're
live audience. We might need like CPR or first aid for someone out there. I don't know.
Are you okay? Choosing the wrong woman. You're saying based on different values, growing different directions, those kind of things.
Yep.
Like, they kind of work together. Fear of missing out, choosing the wrong woman. Okay, I'm gonna move away from that one. I'm gonna come back.
Okay.
Okay. I also mentioned this one before: fear of failure, lack of success, or fear of success.
Yep.
Okay. Is that a lack of trust in other people or lack of trust in yourself?
in that case, if it's a lack of success, if again, to me, that's where more the anxious type comes in.
Hold on. Okay, we're good. Keep going.
Call 911. That to me is more where the anxious type, the anxious attachment may come in, right? And that goes back to someone, and again, I'm not trying to generalize, but someone who has lower self-esteem. Okay, someone who has a sense of self, right? And that can go back to, again, that always goes back to childhood, right? We've talked about that in the past. It goes back to childhood, but it also goes back to lack of success in other areas of life.
Okay.
Could be career. It could be academics as they're moving towards things. It could be, it's not really lack of success in this sense, but familial issues. And so all that,
I'd say, doesn't all this go back to inner child issues?
right? And with
Yeah.
all that, then what happens is with someone, it comes down to that, hey, I haven't had success here or here or here. What is going to make me stand out? That's going to make me super attractive, make me a great draw for said person. And that can, I think, can create commitment issues too, where someone's just lacking in that confidence.
You just, not saying you, but I'm saying there's certain people that you believe just are non-committal because they just don't have the confidence.
Yep.
And that's that their fear of losing out on something. It's almost like their fear of putting themselves out there and they're going to be rejected by someone, or they might put on a face for a little bit to be with someone for 3 months. Honeymoon period's over, they get dropped.
Absolutely.
Is that the fear?
And it goes back to, like I say, forget dating, but one of the biggest issues with adults as a whole is just generalized fears, trying new things. Okay, children typically, they're risk takers. They like trying new things. The older we get more set in our routines. We fall more into our comfort zone with everything. And in return, moving outside that comfort zone makes it trickier. And so because of that, again, we live these comfortable lives. It's not a criticism, it's not a critique, but therefore doing something that is different for us, that sets us up for possible rejection or failure, which I think is some of the best growing opportunities. Because I look at that as opportunities for growth, but that's a real challenge.
So you're basing this on past history. So it's a fear of history repeating itself, certain situations that you've been in before.
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or it can be other situations, but just you've not had luck in various situations. So why is this going to be any different? Why is this going to change?
Yes, but it's someone who's had bad experiences in the past.
Yep.
Say they've been through a divorce, someone who's been cheated on, someone who's been left at the altar. I even threw in someone pining for a childhood sweetheart.
Yep.
That's the fear.
That's the fear.
Right? And it's more like what? You don't think you can find someone better than that person, or in the case of you had that person, you lost them, it hurts so much that now you just couldn't do it again?
Can't do it again. Can't do it again. Why go through that pain again?
Okay, so how do you explain the people that then get out of relationships and then jump right into the next relationship?
So you're talking about the rebound effect?
Yeah.
That's also fear.
Yeah.
That's fear of being alone.
Yes.
And so because of that, again, that might be more of an anxious state, but that goes back to that's not necessarily a commitment issue there. They're happy to commit, but are they doing it for the right reasons? Whole other episode, whole other topic, but are they doing it for the right reasons?
No, they're definitely not doing it for the right
No,
reasons.
not
They
at
just
all.
don't want to be alone, so they're going to go and spend time with the next person thinking that's going to replace the past person, but now you're creating 2 problems at the same time.
Yeah, and when that doesn't work, you're going to jump the next one, and the next one.
You're going to jump the next
And
one?
the next, jump two, yeah, jump two, yeah. It's a PG show.
Yes.
Yeah, we've
sorry.
never gone beyond PG.
I was jumping everyone tonight. All right. The next is the fear of feeling trapped.
Yeah.
Ever have that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I talked about that in one of our first episodes, I think.
Did your parents lock you in your room a lot when you were young?
I was grounded.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was grounded, but
What did you play with while you were alone there? G.I. Joe and Barbie?
no, just GI Joe.
Okay.
Yeah.
2 G.I. Joes together?
No.
Okay.
No. It wasn't Brokeback Mountain. You initiated that.
I just thought they were playing sports.
No.
Okay.
No, what I was gonna say is in terms of that, and I talked about this when I was younger, and even when I was thinking about marriage at that point in time and kids and all that. All my friends who were getting married, and they were changing who they were. They weren't going out anymore. They weren't socializing with other people. I think I talked about this. It's like, what did you do last night? I watched Dancing with the Stars. Why? Because my wife wanted to. It's the whole idea of happy wife, happy life.
I like Dancing with the Stars.
Okay. Even though
Sequin dresses, they were nice.
which is funny because I know you auditioned and didn't make it. So I thought after that you gave up on it. But
2 left feet.
there you go. But no, with everything, it was sort of that whole idea. And that's where I was like, you know what? If this is what it means, if people are if they're giving up their identity, if they are settling, and I'm not saying, by the way, every commitment is settling. I'm not saying that. But when I was hearing this and people did not seem happy, and it's like, I don't do this anymore. I don't do this. It's whatever my wife wants.
Okay.
That's not that to me is not a healthy relationship. That to me is not the type of relationship I want to be in. But that's not coming at it from an avoidant standpoint. That's coming at it from more a secure approach.
And that's your disclaimer.
There you go.
So again, fear of feeling trapped. So
Yeah.
we'll go through this. Loss of independence.
Yes.
Yes. Loss of freedom. Right?
Yep.
In monogamy.
Yep.
Right? And who you can choose.
Yep.
Feeling trapped, also feeling stuck with a woman that feels like she's in her masculine energy. I take that as, and it's not really true, but like if someone was nagging, it was a totally different relationship. It's a very hard time. She goes to work and she has a hard time getting out of it. And you're taking the brunt of that. That would be hard for you. That wasn't our note. That was a note that was in here. So someone who is controlling, demanding, nagging. Do you believe in the happy wife, happy life scenario?
Do I believe in it?
Yes.
I believe in happy couple scenario.
Okay.
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 Both people are happy.
Yeah.
It's a healthy relationship. Whether it's just happy wife or happy husband or happy whatever half partner, it's not a healthy relationship. That to me is not the idealized version of what a commitment means.
Interdependence instead of codependence.
Compromise.
Okay. Compromise.
Reciprocity.
That's a good word.
Okay.
That's what we've been doing all night so far. What's your next one? Want to guess?
No, just go for it. Go for it.
I think it's the biggest one.
Okay. What's the next one?
Did you like Peter Pan?
Not my favorite Disney movie.
Movie? I was talking about the play.
Oh,
the musical?
No, not my favorite musical either. No.
No? You know what her name was? Her name was Mary Martin. You know whose mother that was?
Do tell.
What? Remember J.R. Ewing?
Yeah.
That was his mom in real life.
Okay.
So she was Peter Pan.
Okay.
On Broadway. Do you think you have a Peter Pan syndrome?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
I do.
Do you?
Oh, yeah. But it still allowed me to commit.
Look, do I believe in whatever your age is, that has to be your number, you have to act a certain way? No. I talk about, there's that commercial that we have, right? Unleash your inner wildhood. And it's a commercial for adults. I think it's about RVing, right? And it's essentially about, hey, go out.
RVing certainly a young person's game, but yes.
Right, but they talk about this whole idea of going out and maintaining your youth. And just because you're getting older doesn't mean you have to stop living and doing things.
Okay.
So in terms of that, I believe in that.
I think the fact that you need a bathroom every 10 minutes might cause issues, but yeah.
Tiny bladder, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, in terms of Peter Pan syndrome, never growing up, to me, there's almost this immaturity that comes with that, which I think is different than maintaining your youth. I think they're two very different things.
Is it avoiding certain responsibilities, though?
Again, I think that comes down to immaturity. So again, if you talk about Peter Pan syndrome, right? And I only can talk about me, but in terms of responsibilities and things like that, I don't shirk responsibilities. I don't avoid the difficult things. I don't shy away from those things. So for me, that's why I don't see the Peter Pan syndrome coming in. Where I see it is, especially in younger relationships, it's like, you know what, I'm just going to sit here with my buddies and we're going to play video games for 6 hours all day, right? Or the person who's in a committed relationship, but they're out 7 nights a week with their buddies and are never there for their partner.
Okay.
That's where it's then why you in a relationship. That to me is the Peter Pan syndrome.
Okay.
Okay. Having a sense of youth, having a sense of youthful exuberance, that to me is not a Peter Pan syndrome. That's just, hey, who says that because you're X age, you have to act a certain way or look a certain way?
I really like how you defended that, and no one coughed during it either.
No, but we did get some applause about.
That was nice, but I think that was for the Leaf game.
Maybe, but I'm gonna take it. That was for us.
Okay? Yes, that was for us. So we've covered that you don't have the Peter Pan syndrome. Okay, so that's part of fear of settling.
Yep.
I think, but I think avoiding responsibility was different than avoiding commitment, right? Like it makes sense. There's certain people that can certainly, you know, have a partner and a dog and build a whole life and a family, but they may not want kids, right? And they might, and that I wouldn't call them Peter Pan syndrome.
No, but it depends on how you define responsibility. If it's the partners, and we're going back because we're talking about men here.
Yeah.
So if it's a man who, well, I'm not doing any of the chores, I'm not doing any of this, I'm leaving everything up to my partner and avoiding all responsibilities, that to me, again, is not a truly balanced, healthy, committed
Yeah.
relationship.
Reciprocity, and you both actually specialize in certain
Exactly.
things in your relationship.
Hence,
Yes.
then you are avoiding commitment in some ways.
Or you're having someone else dictate to you what you should do, and then you're not really an adult either way.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll move on from that one. Part of fear of settling, do you feel no one is good enough? I'm not saying you, but do you think people in general think that's a big part of it? They don't want to settle because in their mind, someone in the past was better that they're still pining for, or that it's been put in their head that they are perfect by their parents and that no one could ever be good enough for them.
Okay. So if we're talking about someone in the past where they haven't gotten over that, that to me is still, there's the scars, the pain, the trauma they haven't healed from.
Okay.
Okay. That to me is not the same as settling, where it's just, hey, I'm ready to move on. Here's what I value. Here's what's important to me in a partner. Here's what's important to me in a relationship. And I am not willing to give up A, B, and C. If I was interviewing you for a
You
job,
mean like your own bathroom?
oh,
Okay.
sure. If I was interviewing you for a job
Yes.
and you wanted, okay, and I talk to my clients about this, right? You have your non-negotiables, your must-haves, and the things that you can fluctuate on. If your non-negotiables are, I have to have a certain salary,
Yeah.
I want said position with certain responsibilities,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and I want a job with flex hours, and those are my non-negotiables.
You didn't ask for the window, but yeah.
Okay, but right then, there's the things I have some flexibility with. I can be flexible with commute time.
Okay.
I can be flexible with in-person versus virtual.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's things I just don't really care about.
Okay.
Okay. If this was a job interview, it might be, hey, I'm willing to bend on some of the mid-range things. I am not going to bend on my non-negotiables. This is what's important for me. This is my self-worth. This is what's important for me.
Okay.
Why is it any different in a relationship?
So
If-
what are we talking about? Morals, compatibility.
Strong communication,
Okay.
vulnerability, openness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If someone is not willing to bend on that, why does that make them commitment phobic? That just means that they're looking for a healthy relationship. That's what they're looking for in their partner. Ideally, that's what they have to give, and ideally, that's what they're bringing together. That to me, right, that's where it comes in the whole settling thing. Versus, you know what? I'm just gonna, right. In this case, we're talking about guys committing. She's here, fine, whatever. Said person, I'm gonna give up this value, this value, this value because I don't want to be alone. Okay, so that's where we differentiate the settling versus not settling. That to me is not a commitment issue.
I like you arguing this. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Oh, there you go.
You're very heated.
Passionate.
Passionate is
There
a
you
good
go.
word.
Never heated. It's passionate.
All right. Fear of settling, fear of the ball and chain analogy, feeling trapped, controlled after the honeymoon is over. Why is that important after the honeymoon is over? What's so important about the honeymoon period?
Well, the honeymoon
To
period,
people who are non-committal.
get the dopamine rush again. We talk about
Yeah.
this. The first 3 months, 6 months, maybe a year,
Mm-hmm.
right? You get that dopamine rush. Everything's amazing. Everything feels great. Dopamine rush kind of peters out. You start to feel things become more common. Things become, we'll say, easier, simpler. But some people, you've talked about this, I've talked about this. We've had
I love how you
relationships.
dragged me right in
But
there
we
with
both
you,
talked
yes.
about this. We've had relationships where we kind of thrive on some of that chaos. We like that dopamine rush. And when a relationship feels simple, which often is a sign of it being healthy,
Yeah.
but sometimes it feels boring. Not always, but it can feel boring. And what happens is people don't realize that actually just a sign of healthiness if it's a good fit.
Okay.
Okay. That's where that comes into play. And that's where we talk about, when the honeymoon period wears off.
So that we both like a little bit of chaos, a little bit of craziness, And when we don't get that in our lives, that's when we start to cause shit. Yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. You more so than me, but yeah.
Me more so than you.
Yeah.
I have a fear of settling.
Yeah.
What are some defense mechanisms that men with a fear of commitment would show? That's a test.
It's a test. Okay. You might see things such as the boundaries, the walls are up.
How high does that wall go up?
How high can you climb?
Have you ever been stonewalled?
Trying to think.
No?
I don't think
Never
so.
been stonewalled?
No, I don't
Where
think
like
so.
literally the person, no matter what you did, would just push you out and it would drive you insane?
Don't think so. Not that I can recall.
Okay.
Maybe, but it's not coming to me right now.
Yeah, that's a pretty hard thing for most people to get around in a
Yeah.
relationship. That's a big red flag right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's walls up, guarded. It's like you got the moat,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
The drawbridge is like locked up,
And then you got the wall.
right?
On top of the wall,
You got someone throwing the tar
I was gonna
and
say
the
the hot
fire down
oil.
at the
Yeah,
same time.
exactly. Oh
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right. So the wall's up. All right. What's the next one?
It's quite common with a lot of men. Men are not very good at being vulnerable.
Okay.
Okay, and again, it goes back to a younger age. I see this with some of my clients too, right? Women are great in terms of communicating with each other. They're able to express themselves more openly. Men, and we've talked about this before, men kind of keep those emotions bottled up.
What?
Yeah,
Where did you
shocking. I
read
know.
that?
It's research it. Research it. Yeah, men tend to keep their emotions bottled up. Okay, it goes back to stereotypes in society.
I think that is changing though.
It's changing, but it goes
Older generations
right,
of
but
men are
but
doing
it goes
that.
back to previous stereotypes. It goes back to
Okay.
previous expectations and certain societal norms.
Mhm.
And so
Being
because of that,
stoic.
absolutely, right? And so when you don't have that vulnerability, that's a defense mechanism.
Okay.
Right? You got to come off as the alpha male. You got to come off as tough in a certain way, and that adds to things. Creates challenges.
So you're saying that men would hold on to very old and rigid male stereotypes,
Yep.
and they're afraid to get away from those, be more vulnerable and open.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll buy into that. Is that just you? Do you need a moment?
No, I'm good. No, I'm good. I'm
No, you're
good.
doing very well with this
Right?
one. I thought you thought I was going to ambush you. I'm on your team here.
Okay.
All right, next one. Okay, we talked about vulnerability.
Yeah.
So they avoid being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to elaborate that a little bit more or no?
It's interesting. I remember a few years ago talking to someone and she said to me, "You're not very vulnerable." Well, what do you mean by that?
Okay.
I'm like, "I talked to you about what's going on. I let you know how things are going. I share everything with you." She's like, "That's great, but it's always from a very calm, rational perspective. You never talk about, is it upsetting you? Why is it bothering you? What's it triggering? What are the emotions it's bringing up?" So here I actually thought, I was like, I'm opening up, I'm sharing everything with you. And she's like, "But there's no emotion behind it."
Yeah.
And so even in terms of that vulnerability, as a guy coming off, talking about things, it can be like, but I am opening up, I am sharing, but it's
But
those
you were doing
deeper.
increments. You couldn't get deep enough to share more
Absolutely.
emotionally.
Exactly.
Huh.
Yeah.
And that was a huge issue, or did you work on it together to kind of grow from that?
No, because I wasn't. It was someone who I'd met. We weren't in a relationship.
How soon was this being asked of you?
I mean, we've been getting to know each other for a little while, but it was interesting, that perspective and hearing that, because it changed my lens on things and it opened up some new learning for me.
But your wall didn't go up further. It actually came down
It
a
actually
little
came
bit.
down because I was like, interesting, right? It was like I needed some time to kind of settle back and reflect on that and take away from that.
Did you feel more comfortable with her in that moment when she was open with you about that?
At that very moment, I was probably defensive.
No, where'd you run off to?
Nowhere.
No?
No.
No? The bathroom?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm just asking. I would have.
Would you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. No, there were no windows to get out.
I have to
so
pee for
yeah,
20 minutes.
There you go.
Yes. Other defense mechanisms. Stop looking at my page. Have you ever worried about being deemed emotionally unavailable?
Probably.
I know I have.
Probably.
Yes?
Yeah.
What do you think that entails?
You're doing a lot of the answering here. I'd like to.
You wrote this.
know,
I just went in and
but I'd
like
like to hear
helped
your
you
take.
out.
So what is that?
What does
does that
being
mean to you?
emotionally unavailable
Yeah,
mean?
what does it
I
mean to
think
you?
it actually goes back to a lot of what you were saying before.
Okay.
Right? Where she was actually saying, it's like you were saying all these things, these bother me, but you weren't actually getting down to the emotions of it.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's almost like exercises that you have to do. This bothers me. And then one of the exercises I did is like, okay, why? And then you would answer that, and then you keep going, okay, why? And then you keep doing it, okay, why? And you do like 100 of them, and you finally get to the bottom of it, and it's like it's based on some kind of fear. They're always based on some kind of fear,
Everything's rooted in
right?
fear.
So that's the thing. It's like you can never come out and say, I am afraid of this. It's like this bothered me. I'm angry about this. And even better, like I'll go back to like you invoked, your guru. I'll invoke a guru I had, years ago too. And I was sitting there, and in this case, my guru was a therapist that I was only there for 3 months until it got a little weird. She wanted me to try something that, at the time I would try now. I wouldn't try that. But it's
You realize I'm curious, but I'm not going to put you on the spot.
no, we'll get into that later.
We'll get into that later.
Because I wouldn't even
off camera. Yeah.
It has to be written out.
Yeah. Okay.
No, but have you ever been shown the emotion chart?
Yes. You talking about the wheels?
Yeah.
Yeah. The 3 levels.
Right, with the levels of it?
Yeah.
Okay. So at the time, she would always ask me, okay, what are you feeling? I'd be like, frustrated. She goes, what's that feeling? I'm like, angry. And they're actually different.
Yeah.
But she said, do you have any other emotion? I'm like, no. She would have to give me the chart, and
Yeah.
I'd have to sift through the chart to do it. So that's what it means being emotionally unavailable to me. It takes a while to learn what the actual emotions are on that chart.
And just for people out there to understand what we're talking about. So
I was coughing.
Exactly.
Yes.
He's not coughing anymore, so
All
I hope
right,
he's
I
okay.
hope you feel
yeah,
better.
Yeah, but so it's the wheel of emotions, right?
Mhm.
And I use this for my clients as well. So you talk about this, and you take a look, and let's say you're feeling I don't know, you're feeling upset.
Okay.
So you go a level deeper. Why are you upset? Well, because here's where I might be frustrated, right? Or I might be
Terms
hurt.
that you wouldn't
And then,
even
okay,
use.
but why are
yeah.
you frustrated? Why are you hurt? Well, because I wasn't respected. I
Mm.
wasn't listened to.
Mhm.
I didn't feel validated. And so again, we talk about these surface level emotions. Depending on the wheel you look at, there's 6 or 7, right? So the basic emotions, happy, anger, sadness, so on and so forth. But you have to dig deeper to find out what the root cause is. And again, that's where a lot of times, until you understand, open yourself up to that, it's, I'm feeling upset.
Yeah.
And you leave it at that very surface level.
Why do you think that's so hard for men?
Again, a lot of it's socialization, the way we're brought up. We're not taught to express those feelings the same way. It's again, when you look at historically gender differences, gender roles, expectations, I think that plays a big part in everything. And I'm not saying it's right, but that plays a key part in everything. And because of that, even in terms of, what children play with, and right, we've talked about
We have
this.
talked about that.
We have
Boys were
talked about
playing with like army guys,
guns and more
He-Man,
aggressive,
yeah.
and right, you gotta have up a certain
Girls
front.
were playing with Barbie and Ken and learning actually how to have conversations.
Not always,
Yeah.
but
No,
again,
but I'm saying more of that.
the social
I'm saying
aspects, the
old
nurturing,
generations. Now it's
right?
changed a
The
lot for sure.
nurturing aspects and all those
Yeah.
things that we're lacking. So yeah.
No, I think what we said in the past episode, as I said, just because the way place was set up, it seemed more like women were being groomed for something specific, like marriage, relationships, where men were not.
No.
Right. So when you put the two of them together, how do these two have a conversation? Like most of even how they learned about having conversations was so diametrically opposed.
Look at the career world, right? Again, the
Mhm.
old boys network and previous organizations. And how do you get to the top? You're cold, you're stoic, you're this, you're that. You keep all that to yourself. You're cutthroat, and you get to the top.
Mhm.
Right. So again, part of it comes down to socialization.
Okay. Socialization.
Yeah.
We have more defense mechanisms. Do you want to take a guess what the next one might be?
Guys have a lot of defects.
By the way, I like that shirt.
Well, thank you.
I like how you broke all the buttons off on the top.
What else is new, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Made it easy to put the mic down there. People pleasing.
Don't get it lost. People pleasing. Okay. I can answer this one because it's more of an anxious trait, I guess, than an avoidant trait, except, fearful avoidance might do it occasionally. You would people please if you were anxious to avoid disagreements. Okay. You would also do it to avoid. I used to do this. I will own up to this right here. I would people please also to avoid having to be the one to break up with someone, right? Which is also non-committal. You don't look at it that way, but it is. But you don't want to be the one to do it, so you will kind of make it look like the other person is having more of a difficulty, so that they have to break up with you, and then you get to be the good guy. Yeah. So that's not a good one. All right. We have a little note here about research. Research shows that men in general have a tougher time calming down after an upset, so they develop strategies to cope with breakups, divorce, etc., to minimize pain, insulate themselves from hurt, and this plays into their fears. Have you experienced this?
In terms
Do
of
you think that men recover faster from a breakup or women do?
women,
Why?
hands down.
Do you think it's because of the network, the social network?
And I'd have to look at the stats. I think it's typically the women who end the relationships. If you were to look at statistics, it's the majority.
Marriages, 70% of women do end marriages.
Okay, so
Yes.
therefore, when you're the one who's putting closure to things,
Mm.
that makes it a little bit easier. So there's that.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, the network that women tend to have might make it easier in terms of healing and everything as well. I think the other thing is going back to men and their masculinity and keeping things bottled up.
hmm
We keep it bottled up for so long that when we really are in a relationship that we are happy with
hmm
and it ends, it's devastating. And I think therefore it takes a longer time for us to recover.
Yeah.
Whereas by this point, the woman has like moved on. She's had enough of whatever it happens to be. And her mind is made up. And I can say that in terms of even I think historically and talking to friends, the women I know have been hurt for a period of time,
hmm
but they really handle it well. Whereas the men either are sitting there moping around miserably
hmm
or they're vindictive as can be and angry as can be. Neither one is healthy after a period of time. But that's what I've seen,
Okay.
right?
First-hand perspective. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. I can say firsthand from a couple of my long-term relationships, it took
Mhm.
me a long time to get over them as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Like a week?
Actually 8 days.
8 days?
8 days, not a week. And come on, give me some credit. No, I remember my first one back in my 20s. We were together for 4 years. Took me about 12 months to get over and fully be able to move on.
Okay.
Also didn't help we worked together, so that probably made it harder. But yeah.
Oh, do you know what the healthy amount of time would be after a breakup to start another relationship? In months?
I didn't know this specific number, so no, enlighten me.
No?
No.
Half a year.
6 months?
6 months.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it depend on how long people were together? Because I would think someone who's together for a year versus 11 years versus 21 years,
Yeah,
that
let's
I
say
that
for a marriage, like 10 years, 2 years, right? There are different stats, but typically most people can start the process after 6 months.
okay,
I will give you that. I have another question for you.
absolutely.
Did you cry in Old Yeller when he shot the dog?
I never saw Old Yeller.
What?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Explains why you're so emotionally distant.
Exactly. That's why I'm so stoic and cold.
Yes. Kind of touched on earlier. Do you also agree that most non-committal men could search back and figure out that there's a childhood issue attached to that?
When we start getting into things like avoidance, we go back to anxious attachments, right?
Mhm.
So again, you look at attachment theory. Attachment theory goes back to the wounded inner child, right? Going back childhood. So yeah, if
Mhm.
you look at it that way, absolutely. If you look at reason men are not committal
Mhm.
due to secure attachment, again, that still goes back to childhood, but a whole different
We'll get into
situation.
secure men in a second. We
Okay.
do have that down.
Okay.
But no, if you go into fight, flight, or freeze, non-committal men are
Feign.
what?
Or feign.
Yeah, but we're not. No, we're skipping that one because I don't think it applies for
Okay.
this question. Okay, fight, flight, or freeze. I didn't want to give you the option D. Okay, which one would apply to non-committal men?
Oh, flight.
No. Next one.
Really?
Yeah,
Non-committal men not fleeing, not wanting out of a situation?
freeze. You're not making a choice.
Mhm.
You're not choosing to do one or the other. You're actually stuck in the middle because you can't go backwards. Let's say if it was someone like you're still pining for someone in the past,
Yeah.
you can't go forwards with the new person, so you're stuck right in the middle.
Okay.
So I think that's one of the harder places to be in, right? So if you're
Yeah.
growing up with that, that would be pretty
Okay,
hard.
that's
So,
fair. That makes sense.
but that was again a Teal Swan thing that I found very interesting when she said that, and that was specifically, she said it wasn't fight or flight, it was freeze,
Okay.
and she didn't mention fawn.
I know, but there are the four Fs.
Yes, there are the 4 Fs. I do know.
Yeah.
You were correct.
Yeah.
All right. You wanted to challenge the narrative
Yeah,
here.
I do want to challenge the narrative.
I was going to let you start that one.
Okay.
Oh, take 2 drinks. I know
No,
it's going to be
good.
hard.
One's good.
Yeah.
In terms of challenging the narrative,
Mhm.
again, we talked about all the reasons earlier why men might be, right, non-committal, and that all does fall under the avoidant category, or most of it falls under the avoidant category. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen. Okay, that definitely happens. However, with someone who is secure,
Yeah.
right,
hmm
they know what they want. They they are open to a relationship, but it has to be a healthy relationship.
Okay.
Okay. The other thing is,
So hold on, but
Yeah.
you're saying too, it's like you've heard of secure men being called non-committal
Yeah.
because in a healthy way, they're saying this person is not for me, and I can list off all the reasons, and
Absolutely.
they're healthy reasons why.
Right, but it goes back to, so I used that job analogy earlier.
Okay.
Okay. So what it comes down to is the following. If you're secure,
Yeah.
would you agree you don't need to have someone in your life to make you happy?
No, you don't need someone else's validation to make you happy. It
Okay.
all should come from within you.
Correct. If you're secure and you feel validated and things are great and you're happy with your life, so your career is going well, you have a great social network, you have all kinds of interests, you have all these great things going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that you're not open to having a partner with you who can share all those things, but it has to be someone who creates added value.
It has to be the right partner. It's like when you
Yeah.
spoon, you have to fit like perfectly.
Exactly.
Okay.
You don't want to get forked.
Ooh. I like that. I didn't not see that one coming.
Uh,
It's better than
you know-
you also don't want to be knifed either.
Exactly.
All right.
But no, it comes down to having added value.
Okay.
Okay. So it has to be, again, all these great things are going on.
Yeah.
What is this person bringing in that is creating added value? We'll use me for an example, to my life. Okay.
Okay.
And therefore, this relationship's going to be healthy. And in turn, I can add added value to their life. The other thing is, it's, do we align with things? Okay, so part of that added value is, where do things align, right? And again, we I don't want to get into the 3 C's and all that. I don't want to go off tangent, but if you don't have significant added value, a secure man is not going to commit. And therefore, he's going to be labeled as non-committal or too picky or whatever stereotype wants to come out. No, he's looking for added value. The same way, right? It's no different than a female who feels good in her situation wants someone who's going to create added value for them as well.
But you're saying he's making the same choice except for different reasons, right?
Yeah.
He's not having the same childhood issues. He's based on very secure reasons of why this particular person he doesn't want to be with.
Yep.
So when they say he's not that into you, that's the actual case.
Absolutely.
Okay, because it actually is about you. It's
Yep.
not about him.
Yep.
Okay. That's harsh.
But again, we've talked about this even in relationships and dating. What do we? I think the stats, and we talked about this earlier. I think 80% of first dates don't lead to a second date. 70% of relationships end in the first year. There's always someone who's not into the other person, but in this case, it comes off as someone's not being committal. And sometimes it takes some
Wait,
time.
wait. Where did those stats come from?
We talked about that in earlier episodes.
Really?
Yeah.
70% of relationships don't
And
make it past year.
That's year one.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm doing well. Okay, keep going.
But no, so again, it's not about being non-committal.
Yeah.
It's about you're looking for things that are going to add value, and it's
Well,
someone who wants, doesn't need to be in a relationship. That's the key. They're validated. They're
You're talking about adding value, but let's talk about specifically what do most men want?
I think we've talked. It's the same things we've talked about. So it goes, but
I've heard this not necessarily from us, but where have we heard this in other places? What is the number one thing most men will actually say that they want? And it's not sex. Well, that helps.
I'm seeing people mouth out things too. It's quite.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone has.
Yeah,
Anyone want to
exactly.
try? Starts with a P, actually. 5 letters.
Dude, you said not sex related. I can think of a
That
5-letter
is
P word.
what?
I need to write it out for you.
Oh, actually, yeah, no.
Yeah.
I didn't know you own cats.
No, I'm a dog guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Keyword. 5 letters. It's like Oh, anyone? A man?
Peace.
Peace. There we
That didn't come
go.
from me. I'm
There we go.
not gonna mention names. Thank you.
So
You're a
peace.
rock star.
Okay. So, but a lot of men will say that's what it comes down to. Okay.
Fair
So you're
enough.
saying adds value.
Yeah.
What is peace to a man? I know what peace is to any parent. I just
Yeah.
want to be in the bathroom alone without a child or an animal reaching under the door. Yeah, but what is it? What is it for a man?
I mean, peace from my perspective is just a sense of calmness, a sense of ease.
So being with someone and just having the relationship be relatively
Relationship.
easy.
It doesn't mean there's never going to be any
Not the roller
arguments.
coaster ride all the time.
No, and it doesn't mean there's not going to be challenges and arguments, but it shouldn't be like this the whole time, like you say.
People that can work really well together, even when they're arguing, they have found ways of laughing at the end of
Because
it.
they're looking to find a solution. We talked about this before too.
And even if
not
they
to
don't
win.
resolve something, they've also been okay with that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So what about this whole thing where Teal Swan once again says that there's no such thing as commitment phobia?
In some ways, after what we've gone through, I kind of agree because men are able to commit.
When you look at secure men, for sure.
But even when we look at other men are able to commit. So commitment phobia comes down to the idea of relationship specific.
Well, we've also already said is men commit all the time. You commit to your job. A divorced man can commit to his kids.
Absolutely.
Right? There's so many things you commit to. You could commit to eating like a full 12-inch sub. Okay. But that is things that you commit to all the time. So why is it such a stigma of saying that men are non-committal only when it comes to relationships? And who came up with that? I know you don't know the answer. That's a bomb. Don't answer it.
I'm not
You okay?
joking.
You're actually joking? All right. Please don't die. And it's just me. Are we good now? You made Al cry.
Keep talking.
Okay, I'm keeping talking. So yeah, if there's no such thing as commitment phobia, then basically men are just being called out for something that might be relatively natural. It's they're just calling out that certain relationships aren't for them.
Yeah, and it's actually a 1950s. Can't remember if he was a sociologist or psychologist. He was the one who came up with the term.
Said it's a 1950s sociologist or psychologist. You know which one? No? Young? Leaky? No? It keeps throwing out names? No, you won't remember it? Okay. No, but it makes sense, right? So especially once you put in the secure men, but keep in mind, secure men are probably what, 20% of the population? Well, 10 when you figure out they're half of that number, right? And women are the other half. Okay. So you already said earlier that the opposite of fear is love. So some men love more freedom than commitment. Does that apply also to secure men?
No, I wouldn't say it's the freedom. Again, good situation. They're looking for the commitment.
Yeah. Are you breathing okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure.
Just lose my voice.
What? No, I just want to know if I get to smack you. No? Okay. All right. So I guess, yeah, you also quoted Dr. Orion Tarabin. He said the key men need is to see how commitment betters their particular life situation. And we were talking about adding value. So I could say that peace obviously adds value. I mentioned it already. You had versions of what would add value to your life. But before we kind of finish off, and I know we have closing points coming up, give me one specific thing that you would choose that, let's say, if you were a commitment phobe, would turn you around because you thought it would add so much value to your life that you couldn't live without that person.
I think someone who truly is supportive.
Someone who knows the Heimlich?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Supportive and understanding.
Okay.
Yeah. And definitely open, like a sense of openness.
Supporting, understanding, and being open.
Yeah, I think that's huge.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you?
Baking. I really like cookies. No, that's no. I agree with your answers. Open is a really good one. Also, the compatibility of two people also being able to work together. I have learned this recently, and it is a game changer when you're able to work with somebody that You could start out an argument and you might both be triggered in that moment. But when you are both able to calmly rationalize what you were feeling in that moment may not actually be about the other person, and then are able to work together to sort that out in a kind, loving way, as opposed to one person getting so triggered that they're almost attacking the other person. And then when you're actually laughing about it at the end, I think that ends up being one of the most value added things. And it adds peace to your life.
You're ride or die.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
It adds a lot of peace. Okay, so you have closing points that you want to discuss. I know, because you really wanted to nip this in the bud and say that avoidant men specifically aren't non-committal.
Yeah,
These guys are cheering for you again.
Oh, that's awesome. And my voice is back, so yay.
Yay.
Hey, woohoo.
There we go.
Yeah, avoidant men are non-committal.
Okay.
And again, there's different types of non-committal. Thank you. Off camera, I've got hot water coming my way. This is awesome. Thank you. Yeah, so avoidant men are non-committal. Two types of non-committal as well with avoidant men. Whole other episode.
Yeah.
You get the ethical non-avoidance, or sorry, non-committal, where so they want a relationship, but they're fearful.
Yeah.
And then you get the manipulative avoidance, where they don't want a relationship, but they put on a certain guise to get what they want. Okay, again, whole other topic. But the closing thing is, I think we have to stop these generalizations. I talked about this at the beginning, right? There's too much in the dating world today. People are frustrated. All men are this, all women are this, there's too many of these extreme labels. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I know.
Yeah, keep going.
Woohoo! But it comes down to, we got to stop these generalizations and throwing out that men are commitment phobic. Some men, yes, but we need to stop with the generalizations. It's not healthy. It doesn't add to healthy relationships. It doesn't add to a healthy situation going into dating with that mindset.
And I know we're wrapping up here, but we covered men. We never covered women.
Yeah, in case you haven't noticed, I'm not one. I don't want to speak about non-committal women right now.
But you're showing cleavage.
I am showing cleavage.
All right.
Okay.
I'm going to discuss women for a moment.
Of course you are.
Because I think we did in our last episode, we were talking about why men don't want to date anymore. Okay. So when it comes to, I don't think women are non-committal. I think, again, we were talking about just even from past generations, the way that men and women were raised a little bit differently, the different toys that you played with. So women will commit. But as we said, if the stats are 70% of women are initiating divorces, and then a lot of times they are actually regretting that later, not all times, like sometimes obviously domestic abuse and things like that, but sometimes they just have left because they just weren't feeling it in the moment instead of giving it some time to work on it. Not saying some didn't work a long time to get out of it, but we were talking about in the last episode, and what we were saying is sometimes, and this is from other podcasts, women are trading up. Right? They're not afraid of commitment, but what they will do is they will commit, but then they're still, while they're in those relationships, looking to trade up. How do you feel about that? Does that scare you? Does it add to your non-commitment phobia?
No, not at all.
Why?
Because if I know what I'm looking for, if I have the things that are important to me, and I find that in a person, and if it's a healthy relationship, communicative, reciprocity, vulnerable, all those things are going to flourish. You're growing together.
Okay.
As I talk over to the noise in the background. So yeah.
Well, as you talk over the noise in the background, I would like to end this off by saying congratulations, Al. Just based on what I heard, I think you're moving more to the center, and you're almost more secure.
Well, thank you, Adam.
So,
can I get like a little sticker or badge for that?
I will be happy the next time to slap a piece of ice out of your throat and make you feel better.
I have a couple quick things just in wrapping up.
Okay.
Okay.
Is this for the live audience, or this is for the at-home audience? Or just for me?
Yeah, this is for you. I'm putting you on the. Okay, so a couple things. We're wrapping up, right? We're taping just after New Year's.
Always wrap it up.
Always wrapping up. I know producers always like, hurry up, guys. So a couple quick things. We're wrapping up right now. Okay.
Is this season?
Yeah.
Okay.
Season finale.
Yeah.
Just the New Year's
this
just started.
Episode number 13.
Lucky number 13, baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where's the black cat walking by?
Exactly. I don't believe in resolutions, but anything you want to for 2025, start, stop, and continue. Quickly. Yeah. One thing you want to start, one thing you want to stop, one thing you want to continue.
I would like to start talking more lovingly to myself in the mirror,
Okay.
even though I already do, but just more. The thing I would like to stop, I would like to stop talking over you during episodes. I feel really bad when I do that, but you know, every once in a while I have a really good thought.
It's all good.
And the one thing I would like to continue is I would like to continue working with you on this podcast and our lovely producer, Adam. This has been a ton of fun. And I think we're actually, you know, starting to turn that corner and we are starting to help people.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's great that we got to go through all our own pain to help other people.
Absolutely.
And I think I would like to continue that.
That's amazing.
You know, and I'm glad you survived this episode
I
to
know.
be able to do that.
I know, live on camera. I survived. I don't know about the guy who was coughing earlier, but yeah, we'll check on
We're
him.
there for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. All right.
Okay,
Well,
amazing.
that was episode 13.
Yep.
Thank you for watching the Kings of Khaos podcast.
I was going to say, yeah, just in closing, first of all, thanks to our audience here today. You guys were amazing, so thank you. Thanks to the audience out on the interweb. Remember, if you love us, you better be loving us. Review us, follow us on YouTube, Kings of Khaos podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as Instagram.
Amazon Music.
Yes, I think that's everything. And thank you again to the Frog of Firkin Pub for hosting us tonight. And a special thank you to our awesome producer, Adam, and his company, Dream Vision. Without him, we wouldn't be able to make this possible. And as I just noticed, without saying too much, and a special thank you to our guests we had on this year as well.
Yes.
We're looking for more guests for next year. So if you might be interested and think you can handle sitting in with the two of us, reach out to us. Until 2025, later 2025, it's 2020, later 2025, season 2.
See you now.
Season 2. There you go. Exactly. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.